Zwerkirke. HFY Gift Durja B. Captain. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the horizon's edge. He looked at the message on his screen for the 10th time today. The words still seemed impossible to believe. First contact with an alien race. After all these years of searching the stars, they had finally found someone else. The message had come 3 days ago. It was written in perfect English, which surprised everyone on the ship. The aliens called themselves the Zilithian Empire. They wanted to meet on a small moon called Kepler 442c. The message was polite but formal. It felt like reading an invitation to a very important dinner party. Dr. Lisa Grant walked onto the bridge carrying a thick folder. She was the ship's expert on alien life. For months, she had been studying every piece of information they could find about the Zilithians. There wasn't much to work with. "Captain, I have the briefing ready," Lisa said. She opened her folder and pulled out several pictures. "This is what we know about them." The pictures showed tall, graceful beings with smooth skin that seemed to change colors in the light. Their eyes were large and bright. They wore flowing clothes that looked expensive and important. Everything about them suggested they were a very advanced people. "They live by something called honor codes," Lisa explained. "Think of it like very strict rules about how to behave. They take these rules very seriously. Breaking them is considered the worst thing you can do." Jake nodded slowly. "What about their technology?" "Far ahead of ours," Lisa said. "They can travel between stars much faster than we can. Their ships are beautiful, but also very powerful. We should be careful not to seem threatening." Lieutenant Kyle Barnes, the ship's security officer, frowned. "How do we know this isn't a trap? What if they want to study us like lab rats?" Lisa shook her head. "Their messages have been respectful. They could have attacked us already if they wanted to. Instead, they're following diplomatic rules. That's a good sign." Chief Engineer Amy Walsh joined the conversation. "I've been working on the translation systems. The good news is that they seem to understand English perfectly. The bad news is that we might miss important cultural meanings when they speak." Jake looked around at his crew. These people had become like family during their long journey through space. The idea of putting them in danger worried him. But this chance to meet another intelligent species was too important to miss. "Who's going to the meeting?" Kyle asked. "Just 3 of us," Jake said. "Me, Dr. Grant, and Peter Kim from our cultural team. We want to seem friendly, not like we're bringing an army." Peter Kim was the ship's expert on how different cultures worked together. He had studied every human society on Earth. Now he would help them understand an entirely alien culture. He walked over to join the group. "I've been reading about their ceremonies," Peter said. "The Zilithians love formal events. Everything has to be done in exactly the right way. If we make a mistake, we might insult them without meaning to." Amy looked worried. "What kind of mistakes?" "Small things that might not matter to us," Peter explained. "Like how we stand, how we speak, even how we look at them. They see these things as signs of respect or disrespect." Jake felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. One wrong move could ruin humanity's first chance to make friends with aliens. It could even start a war. "The good news," Lisa added, "is that they invited us. That means they want this to work too. They could have ignored us completely." The ship's computer beeped with an incoming message. Everyone turned to look at the screen. It was another message from the Zilithians. This one included detailed instructions for the meeting. "They want us to meet in something called a ceremonial chamber," Jake read aloud. "They're building it special for our meeting. That sounds like a good sign." Amy studied the technical details. "Look at this. They're creating perfect environmental controls. The air, temperature, even the lighting will be exactly right for both species. This is incredibly advanced technology." Kyle still looked suspicious. "Or it's a way to control us completely." "Kyle, I understand your concerns," Jake said, "but we have to try. This could change everything for humanity. Imagine what we could learn from them. Imagine what we could achieve together." Dr. Grant smiled. "They're sending their princess to meet us, Princess Vera Keth Salon. In their culture, that's a huge honor. They're treating us as equals, not as primitive beings." Peter nodded. A princess wouldn't come to meet us unless they were serious about making a good relationship. Jake made his decision. We're going. Amy, make sure all our systems are working. Perfectly. Kyle, prepare security protocols, but keep them hidden. We don't want to look threatening. Lisa and Peter review everything about their culture one more time. As the crew scattered to prepare, Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, aliens were also preparing for this meeting. They were probably just as nervous as the humans were. The thought made him feel a little better. 2 days later, the horizon's edge arrived at Kepler 442c. The small moon orbited a distant planet in a system far from Earth. As they got closer, they could see something amazing on the surface. The Zilithians had built a beautiful structure that seemed to glow, with soft light. It looked like a crystal palace rising from the rocky ground. The technology required to build something like that so quickly was beyond human understanding. It's beautiful, Lisa whispered. Jake nodded. Let's hope this goes well. The 3 humans climbed into their shuttle and headed toward the surface. As they flew closer to the ceremonial chamber, Jake could see intricate patterns carved into its walls. Everything about it suggested care, respect, and attention to detail. Remember, Peter said as they landed, let them speak first. Follow their lead. And whatever happens, stay calm. Jake took a deep breath. In a few minutes, he would meet the first alien that any human had ever spoken to face to face. The future of 2 species might depend on how well this conversation went. They walked toward the glowing entrance of the ceremonial chamber, each step taking them closer to making history. The inside of the ceremonial chamber took Jake's breath away. The walls seemed to be made of living light that moved in slow, beautiful patterns. The air felt perfect against his skin, not too warm or too cold. Everything smelled clean and fresh, like the air after a spring rain. Dr. Lisa Grant pulled out her scanner and checked the readings. The atmosphere is amazing, she whispered. They've mixed human and Zilithian air requirements perfectly. We can breathe easily, but they'll be comfortable too. Peter Kim looked around at the symbols carved into the walls. These look like welcome messages in their language. They really want us to feel honored. In the center of the chamber stood a raised platform surrounded by gentle, glowing lights. Jake could see what looked like control panels built into the floor around it. Everything was so advanced that it seemed like magic. Look there, Lisa pointed to one wall. That must be their transportation system. A large circular area on the wall glowed brighter than the rest. Strange symbols moved across its surface like water flowing uphill. Jake had never seen technology that beautiful before. Remember, Peter said quietly, we wait for them to appear first. Then we follow their greeting customs. Jake nodded and tried to calm his racing heart. In a few moments, he would be face to face with an alien princess. Everything they said and did would be remembered forever. The circular area on the wall began to glow even brighter. The air in the chamber seemed to vibrate with energy. Jake could feel something happening, like the moment before lightning strikes. Here, they come, Lisa whispered. Light filled the transportation area. It swirled and danced, forming shapes that almost looked like a person. Then, suddenly, the light faded. Standing on the platform was the most beautiful being Jake had ever seen. Princess Vera Keth Zalon was tall and graceful, just like in the pictures. But seeing her in person was completely different. Her skin seemed to glow with its own soft light, changing from silver to pale blue as she moved. Her eyes were large and intelligent, filled with curiosity and kindness. She wore what appeared to be formal clothing made of material that flowed like water but sparkled like stars. The garments seemed to be alive, responding to her movements and the light around her. Jake realized this must be the most important outfit in Zilithian culture. Greetings, humans from the world called Earth, the princess said. Her voice was musical and clear. The translation system worked perfectly, making her words easy to understand. Jake stepped forward carefully. Your Highness, we are honored to meet you. I am Captain Jake Morrison. This is Dr. Lisa Grant and Cultural Attaché Peter Kim. The princess smiled. and Jake felt some of his nervousness fade away. Her smile was warm and genuine, not the cold expression he had feared from such an advanced being. I am Princess Vera Keth Zalon of the Zalithian Empire. I speak for my father, High Regent Morth Kalin, and our people. She moved gracefully on the platform. We have waited long to meet a species like yours. Like ours? Lisa asked politely. A species that explores the stars not for conquest, but for knowledge and friendship, the princess explained. We have watched your people from afar. You interest us greatly. Jake felt proud but also nervous. We hope we can learn from each other and build a friendship between our peoples. The princess nodded. That is my hope as well. But first we must complete the proper ceremonies. Our cultures have different ways, but respect is universal. She gestured toward the control panels around the platform. The chamber will now adjust to create the perfect environment for our formal discussions. The princess placed her hand on a glowing control surface. Immediately, the lights in the chamber began to change colors. The air itself seemed to shimmer as new systems activated. But something went wrong. The beautiful patterns on the walls began to flicker. The gentle glow from the control panels turned harsh and bright. Jake heard a low humming sound that grew louder and more unpleasant. What's happening? Lisa asked, checking her scanner frantically. The princess looked concerned as she touched different controls. The environmental systems are malfunctioning. This should not be possible. The humming sound became a loud buzzing. The lights flashed rapidly, making it hard to see clearly. Jake could feel the temperature in the room starting to change. Can you fix it? Peter asked. The princess worked quickly at the controls, her graceful movements becoming urgent. I am trying, but the systems are not responding correctly. Suddenly, the buzzing stopped. The lights went out completely for a moment, leaving them in darkness. When the emergency lighting came on, Jake saw something that made him freeze in shock. The princess's beautiful garments were gone. The flowing, sparkling clothes had simply vanished, leaving her completely exposed. She stood on the platform, vulnerable and surprised, her skin still glowing softly in the dim light. Jake's mind went blank for a moment. This was not supposed to happen. This was a disaster that could ruin everything between their species. He didn't know what to do or where to look. Dr. Grant was the first to react. She quickly pulled off her jacket and stepped toward the platform. Your Highness, please take this, she said, offering the jacket to cover the princess. Jake forced himself to look away, staring at the wall instead of the princess. We're very sorry this happened. Is there anything we can do to help? Peter stood with his back turned, giving the princess privacy. Should we leave while you fix the problem? But the princess did something none of them expected. She began to laugh. The sound was beautiful, like music playing in the chamber. It wasn't a mean laugh or an embarrassed laugh. It was the sound of genuine joy and surprise. Please do not worry, the princess said, still laughing softly. Dr. Grant, thank you for your kindness, but this is not the disaster you think it is. Jake looked back cautiously. The princess had accepted Lisa's jacket and wrapped it around herself, but she seemed completely calm about what had happened. Your Highness, we are deeply sorry, Jake said. We know this must be very embarrassing for you. The princess smiled again. Captain Morrison, Dr. Grant, Mr. Kim, you have just taught me something wonderful about your species. We have? Lisa
asked, confused. Yes. You have shown me that humans are exactly what we hoped you would be.
Jake didn't understand. I don't follow. The princess adjusted Lisa's jacket and stepped down from the platform. What just happened was not an accident. It was a test. A test? Peter repeated. My biosuit was designed to dissolve if the environmental systems failed, the princess explained. We needed to see how your species would react when faced with another being's vulnerability. Jake felt his mouth fall open. You planned this? My advisors planned it. I expected it to end badly, like it has with every other species we have. Tested. The princess looked at each of them with respect. But you did something different. You protected me instead of taking advantage. You showed respect instead of mockery. You turned away to give me privacy instead of staring. Lisa looked amazed. Other species failed this test? All of them, the princess said sadly. Some laughed, some made crude comments, some tried to use my vulnerability against me. One species even attacked, thinking I was weakened. Jake felt sick, thinking about how badly this could have gone. We would never do those things. I know that now, the princess said, and that changes everything. The chamber's lighting returned to normal as backup systems took over. Princess Vera adjusted Dr. Grant's jacket and moved gracefully around the platform. She seemed completely comfortable now, as if nothing unusual had happened. Please sit with me, the princess said, gesturing to some chairs that rose from the floor. We have much to discuss, and I find I am very curious about your people. Jake, Lisa, and Peter took their seats carefully. Jake still felt confused about what had just happened. Your Highness, I'm still not sure I understand this test. The princess settled into her chair with fluid grace. Captain Morrison, in our culture, how someone treats the vulnerable tells us everything about their character. When someone is exposed or helpless, their true nature shows through their actions. That makes sense, Lisa said. We have similar beliefs. We judge people by how they treat those who cannot defend themselves. Exactly, the princess said, her eyes lighting up with excitement. This is why we hoped your species might be different. We have observed your entertainment, your stories, your history. You have heroes who protect the weak instead of exploiting them. Peter leaned forward with interest. You've been watching our movies and reading our books? For many years, the princess confirmed. We study every species we encounter before making contact. Your stories fascinate us. You celebrate those who sacrifice for others, who defend the innocent, who show mercy to enemies. Jake thought about all the superhero movies and adventure stories humans loved. Not every human lives up to those ideals. No species is perfect, the princess agreed. But your ideals matter. They show what your people value most. And today, you proved that these ideals are real, not just stories. Dr. Grant shifted in her chair. What exactly were you looking for in this test? The princess's expression became more serious. We needed to know if humans could be trusted as allies. You see, we face a great threat in this galaxy. The Vorten Collective grows stronger every day. We've heard that name before, Jake said. What are they like? The Vortens believe that weakness should be destroyed and strength should dominate everything, the princess explained. They conquer other species and force them to serve. They see kindness as foolishness and mercy as weakness. Lisa looked worried. Are they coming toward Earth? Eventually, yes. They expand in all directions, consuming everything in their path. The princess stood and walked to one of the glowing walls. We have fought them for decades, but we cannot stop them alone. What kind of help are you looking for? Peter asked. The princess turned back to them with hope in her large eyes. We need allies who share our values. Species who will fight not for conquest but to protect others. Based on what I have seen today, humans might be exactly what we need. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders again. This is much bigger than just first contact. Yes, it is, the princess agreed. This meeting could change the fate of many worlds, including yours. Dr. Grant pulled out her scanner and began taking readings of the chamber. Your Highness, would you mind if I studied some of your technology? Understanding how you build things might help us work together better. Of course, the princess said. Knowledge shared freely makes both species stronger. As Lisa worked with her scanner, the princess walked over to Peter. I am very interested in human culture. You study how different societies work together. Yes? That's right, Peter said. Every human culture has different ways of showing respect and building trust. I'm fascinated to learn about Zilithian customs. The princess smiled. Perhaps we can teach each other. For example, in our culture, sharing a meal is the highest form of friendship. Would you join me for food? Jake looked surprised. You want to eat with us? If you are comfortable with that, the princess said. I know humans also value sharing meals. It seems we have this custom in common. She touched a control panel and a section of the wall opened to reveal a small area filled with containers and devices. I have foods that are safe for both our species. Our scientists worked very hard to prepare this. Lisa looked up from her scanner. That's incredible. You studied our biology well enough to create food we can both eat? We wanted to be good hosts, the princess said simply. As they shared the alien food, which tasted surprisingly good, the conversation became more relaxed. The princess asked many questions about Earth, human families, and how their societies worked. Do all humans live in family groups? She asked. Most do, Jake explained. Families are very important to us. We take care of our children, our elderly, anyone who needs help. The princess nodded approvingly. This is another similarity. Zilithians also value protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Peter wiped his mouth with a strange but soft napkin the princess had provided. What about your government? How does the empire work? We have many worlds, each with their own cultures, the princess explained. But we all follow the same basic principles about honor and protecting others. My father coordinates defense and trade between worlds. That sounds like a federation more than an empire, Lisa observed. Perhaps your translation systems choose the wrong word, the princess admitted. We are more like a large family than a controlling government. Jake found himself liking this alien princess more with each passing minute. She was intelligent, kind, and genuinely interested in building friendship between their species. Your Highness, he said, what would this alliance look like? What would you expect from humanity? The princess set down her eating utensil and became serious again. First, we would share technology and knowledge. Your species has creative ideas that could help both of us. Second, we would coordinate defense against the Vorthans. And third, we would work together to protect other species that cannot protect themselves. That sounds like exactly the kind of future we want, Lisa said. But, the princess continued, this cannot be decided by just the four of us. Your leaders and mine must meet. Many discussions must happen. Trust must be built slowly and carefully. Jake nodded. How do we start? The princess smiled again. You start by coming to my ship. I would like you to meet my crew and see how we live. Then, if you are willing, I would like to visit your ship and meet your people. You want to come aboard the Horizon's Edge? Peter asked. Very much. I want to see how humans work together when they think no aliens are watching. The princess laughed softly. That will tell me even more about your character. Dr. Grant looked excited. Captain, this could be the greatest scientific opportunity in human history. Jake made his decision. Your Highness, we would be honored to have you visit our ship, and we would be grateful for the chance to see yours. The princess stood and bowed gracefully. Then let us begin building the friendship that might save both our peoples. As they prepared to leave the ceremonial chamber, Jake realized that what had started as a potential disaster had become something wonderful. The princess's test had revealed the best qualities of humanity. Now they had a chance to prove they could be trusted with something much more important than just first contact. They were being offered a chance to help save the galaxy. 2 hours later, Princess Vera stood in the shuttle bay of the Horizon's Edge, wearing a new biosuit that her ship had quickly made for her. This one looked more casual than her formal ceremonial clothes, but it still shimmered with built-in technology. The entire crew had gathered to meet her. Jake watched their faces as they saw an alien for the first time. He saw wonder, curiosity, and respect, but no fear or hostility. He felt proud of his people. Your Highness, Jake said, let me introduce you to my crew. Lieutenant Kyle Barnes stepped forward first. Jake had been worried about Kyle's reaction, knowing how suspicious he could be of strangers, but Kyle offered a respectful bow. Welcome aboard, Your Highness. I'm Lieutenant Barnes, head of security. If you need anything during your visit, please let me know. The princess smiled warmly. Thank you, Lieutenant. I can see you take good care of your ship and crew. Chief Engineer Amy Walsh came next, practically bouncing with excitement. Your Highness, your technology is amazing. I have so many questions about how your ships work. I would be happy to answer what I can, the princess replied. Perhaps we can learn from each other's engineering methods. One by one, the crew members introduced themselves. Chef Dan Foster offered to prepare human food for her to try. Communications Officer Kelly Wright asked about Zilithian languages. Medical Officer Nick Adams wanted to know about alien medicine. What impressed Jake most was how naturally everyone treated the princess. Yes, they were respectful of her royal status, but they spoke to her like they would speak to any honored guest. No one stared rudely or acted like she was a strange creature to study. "Captain Morrison," the princess said quietly, "your crew treats me like a person, not like an alien curiosity. This says much about your leadership." Jake felt pleased but tried to stay modest. "They're good people. I'm lucky to serve with them." The princess asked to tour the ship, so Jake led her through the different sections. In the engine room, she and Amy discussed propulsion systems. In the medical bay, she examined human healing methods with Dr. Adams. In the common area, she watched crew members playing games and relaxing together. "This is fascinating," the princess said as they observed Sergeant Maya Johnson teaching a card game to Ensign Rick Taylor. "They compete, but there is no anger or aggression." "Games are how we have fun together," Peter explained. "Competition can be friendly instead of hostile." The princess watched Maya laugh as Rick made a silly mistake with his cards. "On many worlds, showing weakness in any form brings shame. But your people find joy in each other's mistakes." "We call it good humor," Lisa said. "Friends can laugh together without it being mean." In the research lab, Dr. Grant showed the princess human scientific methods. The princess was particularly interested in how humans work together on projects. "You share information freely between researchers?" the princess asked. "Of course," Lisa replied. "Science works better when people collaborate instead of competing." "Another similarity between our peoples," the princess noted. "Silithian scientists also believe knowledge belongs to everyone." As they continued the tour, Jake noticed how the princess observed everything carefully. She wasn't just looking at their technology or their ship design. She was watching how people interacted with each other. In the mess hall, she saw Chief Foster sharing his lunch with a young crew member who had been too busy to eat. In the communications center, she watched Kelly patiently help a nervous technician with a difficult repair. "Your people take care of each other," the princess observed. "Even when no one is watching, even when there is no reward for kindness." "That's just how we are," Jake said. "When someone needs help, we help them." The princess stopped walking and turned to face him. "Captain, do you understand how rare this is? Most species we have encountered only show kindness when it benefits them personally." "Really?" Amy asked, looking surprised. "That seems so sad." "It is sad," the princess agreed. "Many species become so focused on individual survival that they forget the strength that comes from caring for others." They reached the ship's observation deck where large windows showed the stars outside. The princess stood quietly for a moment, looking out at the universe. "Your Highness," Jake said, "and can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." "What is it like being royalty among your people? Do you ever wish you could live a normal life?" The princess considered the question carefully. "I was born to serve my people. That is both a privilege and a responsibility. But I think your question assumes that power and service are different things." "Aren't they?" Peter asked. "Not for my people," the princess explained. "True power comes from the trust others place in you. I am powerful because my people believe I will protect them and make good decisions for them. If I abuse that trust, I lose my power." Lisa nodded thoughtfully. "So leadership is really about service to others." "Exactly. This is why your species interests us so much. Your Captain Morrison has the same understanding. I can see that his crew follows him not because they have to, but because they want to." Jake felt uncomfortable with the praise. "I just try to do what's right for my people." "And that is exactly what makes you a good leader," the princess said. As they returned to the shuttle bay, the princess made an unexpected request. "Captain, would it be possible for me to stay aboard your ship for a few days? I would like to observe how humans live and work when they are not trying to impress aliens." Jake looked surprised. "You want to stay here?" if that would not be an inconvenience. I have learned much today, but I feel there is more to understand about humanity. Amy spoke up quickly. We have guest quarters that we can prepare for you, Your Highness. That would be wonderful, the princess said. And please, when we are not in formal situations, you may call me Vera. I would like to experience human friendship as well as human hospitality. Jake made the decision quickly. We would be honored to have you stay with us, Vera. Over the next 3 days, Princess Vera became part of the ship's daily routine. She ate meals with the crew, helped with simple tasks, and asked endless questions about human culture and behavior. She was particularly fascinated by human entertainment. Movie night became her favorite activity. She loved stories about heroes who saved others, adventures where good triumphed over evil, and comedies that showed the silly side of human nature. Your people tell stories about the kind of individuals you want to be, she observed after watching an old superhero movie. You celebrate courage, sacrifice, and protecting the innocent. Don't your people have similar stories? Kelly asked. Yes, but they are mostly about duty and honor, Vera replied. Your stories are about choice. Your heroes choose to do good even when it is difficult. On the 3rd day, Vera asked to speak privately with Jake, Lisa, and Peter. They met in the captain's ready room. I must return to my ship tomorrow, she said. But first, I want to tell you what I have learned. What have you concluded about us? Jake asked, feeling nervous about her answer. Vera smiled. I have concluded that humanity is exactly what the galaxy needs. You are strong enough to fight, but you choose to protect instead of conquer. You are intelligent enough to develop powerful technology, but you use it to help others. Most importantly, you understand that true strength comes from working together. What happens now? Lisa asked. Now I return to my father with a recommendation that we form a full alliance with humanity, Vera said. I will also recommend that we share our most advanced technologies with you. Peter looked amazed. Just like that? Just like that, Vera. Confirmed. The test you passed was not just about your reaction to my vulnerability. These 3 days have been a test too. I have watched you when you thought no one was judging you. I have seen your true character. Jake felt overwhelmed. This could change everything for our species. It will change everything, Vera agreed. For both our species and for every species in the galaxy that values freedom and kindness over domination and cruelty. As they prepared for her departure, Vera made one final observation. Captain Morrison, when you first arrived at the ceremonial chamber, you were nervous about making a good impression. You worried about saying the wrong thing or making cultural mistakes. I was terrified, Jake admitted. Vera laughed softly. You did not need to worry. The content of your character spoke louder than any words. Your actions showed me everything I needed to know about humanity. That night, as Jake watched Vera's ship disappear into the stars, he realized that this was just the beginning. Soon, representatives from both species would meet to plan their alliance. Humanity was about to take its first steps into a larger galaxy, and it had all started with a moment of unexpected vulnerability and the human instinct to protect and help others. 6 months after first contact, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the Grand Assembly Hall of Luna Station, humanity's newest and most important space facility. The station orbited Earth's moon and had been built specifically for interspecies diplomacy. Today would mark the official signing of the Human-Zilithian Alliance. The hall was filled with representatives from both species. On one side sat the human delegation, led by Admiral Grace Turner, the head of Earth Space Command. On the other side, Princess Vera sat beside her father, High Regent Morth Kalin, a tall and dignified Zilithian with kind eyes that reminded Jake of his daughter. Jake wore his dress uniform and sat with his original crew from the Horizon's Edge. Dr. Lisa Grant had been promoted to head of interspecies scientific cooperation. Peter Kim now served as Earth's first alien cultural ambassador. Even Lieutenant Kyle Barnes, who had been so suspicious at first, now worked closely with Zilithian security forces. Hard to believe it all started with that meeting on the moon, Lisa whispered to Jake. Best malfunction in the history of space travel, Kyle added with a grin. Jake smiled as he remembered that day. What had seemed like a disaster had turned into the foundation of trust between two species. Princess Vera caught his eye from across the room and smiled back. She had kept her promise and returned many times to visit the horizon's edge, always learning something new about humanity. Admiral Turner stood to address the assembly. Today marks a new chapter in galactic history. The alliance we signed today is not based on fear of common enemies or desire for mutual profit. It is based on shared values and genuine friendship between our peoples. High Regent Morth Kalin rose to respond. His voice was deep and musical, like his daughter's. Admiral, Turner speaks truth. In all our years of searching the galaxy, we have never found another species that so perfectly shares our beliefs about protecting the innocent and helping those in need. The formal ceremony began with both species presenting gifts to each other. The humans offered a collection of their greatest art, music, and literature, wanting to share the beauty of human creativity. The Zilithians presented advanced medical technology that could heal injuries that were impossible to treat with human medicine. These gifts represent our people's greatest strengths, Princess Vera announced. Humans excel at imagination and compassion. Zilithians excel at harmony and innovation. Together, we can achieve what neither could accomplish alone. But Jake knew this ceremony was about more than just these two species. In the months since first contact, something amazing had happened. 3 other alien species had approached, the alliance asking to join. The Keth were a peaceful trading people who had been bullied by the Vorthans for decades. The Morani were skilled engineers whose homeworld had been destroyed by Vorthan attacks. The Yalix were explorers and scientists who believed in sharing knowledge freely. All 3 species had been invited to join not through military conquest or economic pressure, but because they shared the Alliance's values of protecting others and working together peacefully. Commander Kyle Barnes, now promoted for his work with interspecies security, stepped forward to give a report. The joint patrols with our Zilithian allies have been incredibly successful. Vorthon raiding parties have been stopped from attacking 12 different worlds. No casualties on our side, and the Vorthons are starting to avoid areas where they know our ships patrol. Jake felt proud hearing this. The alliance wasn't just about friendship, it was actually making the galaxy safer for everyone. Dr. Grant presented her scientific report next. The medical advances we've achieved by combining human and Zilithian knowledge have saved thousands of lives already. Our joint research stations are developing solutions to diseases that have plagued both species for generations. Amy Walsh, now chief engineer of the Alliance's first joint-built starship, added her report. The new ships we're building together are faster and more efficient than anything either species could create alone. We're not just sharing technology, we're creating entirely new innovations. As the formal reports continued, Jake thought about how much had changed. The Horizon's Edge now served as a training ship where humans and Zilithians learned to work together. His crew had become some of the first human experts in interspecies cooperation, but the most important change was in how both species saw the galaxy. Instead of each fighting alone against threats like the Vorthons, they had created something new. A community of species working together for mutual protection and prosperity. Princess Vera stood to give the final speech before the signing. When I first met Captain Morrison and his crew, I was testing whether humans could be trusted with vulnerability. What I discovered was something far more valuable. I learned that humans don't just protect the vulnerable, they make everyone around them stronger. She turned to look directly at Jake and his crew. The humans showed me that true strength comes not from dominating others, but from lifting others up. They taught me that the best alliances are built on friendship, not just necessity. High Regent Morth Kalin and Admiral Turner stepped forward to sign the alliance treaty. As they placed their signatures on the document, representatives from the other 3 allied species also signed, making this a true galactic community. But before the ceremony ended, Princess Vera made a surprise announcement. I have news that will bring joy to all our peoples. Last week our combined forces achieved something remarkable. We captured a Vorthan command ship and discovered that their expansion has stopped. The hall erupted in excited conversation. This was huge news. The Vorthons have never faced organized resistance before, the princess continued. Our alliance has shown them that the galaxy will no longer tolerate their aggression. They are requesting peace negotiations. Jake felt amazed. When he had first received that message about first contact, he never could have imagined it would lead to this. Humanity had not only joined the galactic community, but had helped create a force for peace that was changing the entire galaxy. After the ceremony, there was a celebration dinner where all 5 species shared food and stories. Jake found himself sitting with Princess Vera, now officially Ambassador Vera to the human systems. You know, she said with a smile, I still think about that day in the ceremonial chamber. If your crew had reacted differently, if they had laughed at me or ignored my situation, this alliance would never have happened. It's hard to imagine, Jake replied. Everything we've built started with that one moment. Not just that moment, Vera corrected. It started with the kind of people you are. The test only revealed what was already there. Dr. Grant joined their conversation, carrying a tablet with exciting news. Jake, Vera, you need to see this. We just received a message from the Altari Federation. They're a group of 12 species, on the other side of the galaxy. They want to create an alliance with us. 12 species? Jake asked in amazement. Apparently, word of our success against the Vorthons has spread, Lisa explained. Species everywhere are realizing they don't have to face galactic threats alone. Princess Vera looked thoughtful. We may have started something much bigger than we intended. As the celebration continued around them, Jake looked out through the station's large windows at Earth hanging in space below. 6 months ago, humanity had been alone among the stars. Now they were part of a growing community that spanned the galaxy, and it had all started because a group of humans had instinctively protected someone who was vulnerable. What's next? Jake asked Vera. She smiled and gestured toward the stars visible through the windows. Next, we keep growing this alliance. We keep protecting those who need protection. We keep showing the galaxy that cooperation is stronger than conquest. And we keep being the kind of people others want as friends, Jake added. Exactly, Vera agreed. After all, that's what humans do best. Years later, historians would mark the signing of the Human-Zilithian Alliance as the moment when the galaxy changed forever. The alliance would grow to include dozens of species, creating an era of peace and prosperity that lasted for generations. But Jake would always remember it as the day when humanity's greatest strength, their instinct to protect and help others, proved to be exactly what the galaxy needed. The stars had been waiting for someone like humanity to bring them together. And when the test came, humanity had passed with flying colors, not through strength or technology, but through simple kindness and the courage to do what was right. That, Jake realized, was the most human thing of all.